What is this WIOA thing?
WIOA is the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. It's in essence how workforce dollars flow to the states from the federal government to the state government to the local government. And the idea behind it is right. The idea behind it is that we're going to spend more money on training and making investments in training. And I hate to use analogies, but the whole idea is we can either give you a fish or we can teach you to fish. And the whole idea behind WIOA is we're going to teach you to fish. We're going to make that investment because now you know how to fish, you can feed yourself. And that's kind of how it's supposed to work. That in WIOA is that once they're determined eligible, we can pay for training, we can do the OJT, we can do the PWE that we talked about earlier. Again, OJT on a job training, paid workers earnings. But when someone's WIOA eligible, it's training dollars to supplement them so that they can have a minimum wage job or they can get some certifications. And one of the things I like about working with you is we really stack certifications. So now someone has 4 or 5 or 6 different certifications, they're going to have an upwardly mobile career pathway. Whereas, the person who, is just going to work a regular job, they're never going to have that upward mobility. And so that's where WIOA can come in and fill so many gaps. But I got to tell you, I talked to Jennifer Brackney, who's our executive director at CareerSource, and I was asking her how much money was sent back at the end of the last fiscal year. Now, I know we were in the middle of the pandemic, all of it. I said, what do you mean? All? I said, how much did you spend? She goes, 0. I didn't have any employers who took advantage of this. Now, for the first quarter of that, there was no pandemic. And think about this. Wait a minute. The first 3 quarters of that year, go July 1st, 2019 through March of 2020. Okay, there was no pandemic. And we spent 0 of those dollars because the employers think it's too hard to access. The employees think it's too hard to access.
So there's a communication gap going on here then.
Yeah.
No, that's. So like the gist of WIOA, say it like, what makes a client WIOA eligible?
Well, and I'm going to give you the generalization.
And I know there's a lot of them, just like, Cliff Notes
if
version.
you're under the poverty rate, if you're an individual under the poverty rate, if you have kids under the poverty rate, it's, are you employed or are you unemployed? The reality is that when you're dealing with returning citizens, 99% are WIOA eligible. I mean, if not 100%. When the people we work with largely as an agency, they're not coming to us, with master's degrees saying, I can't find a job. Those people, we're not going to get them WIOA eligible. So it really, there are criteria. Some of it has some nuance from county to county, state to state. But I'd just start off with poverty rate, number of people in a household. And to be honest, I almost think that you might know some more of that criteria as you've gone through it, trying to help us set up a better process.
Well, I know usually whenever, because I haven't helped with a WIOA screening in a long time, but I do remember a lot of them, especially like in the Clearwater area when we did a lot of the work with the Homeless Empowerment Project over there. Almost every single one, they were able to get that letter saying they're homeless and that qualified them. And they were able to, so once they got qualified, I know that like CareerSource would get involved and then they would like see what's available for this human. And that's one thing that I did learn too, like CareerSource, they really got thorough and like screening and making sure like kind of to the point you were talking about earlier, like, like also understanding like education works differently for people, really cast netting all that right data to get the right services and connect the dots. It just seems like, for me as a human, I'm usually skeptical of like everything. So when I'm told like, oh, you can get free training, it's like, oh yeah, sure. Am I watching my own commercial? Like,
yeah. No, I hear you, man. And to try to convince people that this really is free, especially because when you talk about working at Happen, where we have our program up in Clearwater too, which is in that same area, in that community redevelopment area, every single one of these people are qualified. You know, being homeless in and of itself is not a qualification, but typically what surrounds being homeless all are. So, you know, there are those who are homeless by choice but might have resources, but, you know, typically speaking, the population we work with who's homeless, people who are below the poverty level, and, you know, you're talking about, you know, if you pretty much are below poverty, if you're making $15 an hour and have a kid, you know, you might be slightly above it if you're single. I mean, it's not that hard to find people who are eligible. What is a challenge, and we've seen this for a long time now, is getting employers who are willing to do this enormous amount of paperwork. Otherwise, we have to streamline the systems for them, and then getting the employees to do the follow-up. You know, that's one thing, is when we work with clients who are excited to be doing what they're doing, then we get them a job, they're just a little less responsive because they're working.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date with what's new.